So I'd like to shift a little bit and talk specifically about the Santo Tomas project. Ian, if you could, go ahead and dive into some technical details as to why some of the highlights on this thing should really get investors' attention. You know, the over 22 years life of the mine, the resource that you guys are looking at, and some of the plans that you guys have to kind of solidify that asset to maybe make it showcase a little bit more for your potential eventual sale. Ian?
Certainly. Thanks, Ryan. So, you know, we have a very large resource. The resource is currently classified in two categories: the indicated resource and an inferred resource. Together, and we shouldn't report them together generally speaking, there are 8.5 billion pounds of copper in the ground. And we've put and currently 4.5 billion pounds of that copper equivalent resource is in the indicated category. So the other 4 billion, a shave over 4 billion pounds of copper, are in the inferred category. And the inferred category is insufficient to support a resource statement and any sort of reserve work that would allow us to report them together, etc. However, in the PEA, we put together a notional project that will extract essentially 5.5 billion pounds of that copper equivalent. So 90% of that material that will be sold will be copper in concentrate, and the balance of the value is molybdenum, gold, and silver. So fairly straightforward metallurgy, which helps with things like capital and certainly some of the certainty of recoveries, etc. So 5.5 billion pounds of copper equivalent produced over, as you said, Ryan, 22 odd years. And we need to spend $1.1 billion in initial capex to build it, as defined, the plan as we defined it in the PEA. And then there'll be some expansion capital, but that comes after payback of the initial capital. And so we see this project as a very competitive CapEx project in terms of the returns we get on that CapEx. In the Americas, our CEO, Richard Locke, an mining engineer, a guy with a record of delivering projects on time, on budget, in the mining sector, gas sector. He is an engineer's engineer, and in Richard's view, Santo Tomas is the most buildable of the open pit, large porphyry-style copper deposits in the Americas. And if he thinks it, I tend to think it. We got to work together in the past on a couple of companies, and originally at Rio Tinto, on the Diavik Diamond Mine in the Northwest Territories, and subsequently on some other projects where significant value was created and operations ultimately established. So, I think that's a really strong situation to have brought the company to now. With these changing tailwinds, I think we can, essentially get our chins up again, focus on the future, and get back to work. Project compares very well with other large development copper projects. We are not the largest of the deposits that are sitting in the hopper, but what we think is we have one of the more enviable location situations. We're on rail, road, natural gas coming down from the Permian Basin in Texas, underutilized gas facility that goes right by the project, and we're close to a deep water port that is underutilized, a free port here on the west coast of Mexico at Topolobampo. So we just, we think the sort of the confluence of our location, the ready access, the fact that we're at low elevation, we're a drive-up project. You can drive to the project in a Toyota Corolla, and just that very, very strong and readily, it's easy to calibrate the work that needs to be done on the project. And I think we've been appropriately conservative insofar as the project as designed does not take all of the in situ resource. We're essentially taking about, approaching 70% of it, and we're not impacting things like the adjacent river or any of those things that might require more advanced engineering solutions. So we've kept it simple. We haven't sort of reached for the stars. And I think what we've put together is a very believable and strong project solution.